Hello, everyone, and welcome. A warm welcome to a very special edition of Deliver More, brought to you by the exceptional team here at Intech Services. And I do mean special, folks, because we are here to mark 30 years of business for Intech Services. And that's why I am honored to be sitting down with the two gentlemen that are here with me in Studio 211. Just to my left, Mr. Mike Patterson. Mike, take a bow. 30 years in business.
It's hard to believe. I can't believe it's 30 years, honestly. I feel like I'm 30 years old, so it's hard to believe the business has been around for 30 years.
You don't look a day over 29, my friend. 30 years is a big deal. And because in the spirit of big deals, we had to make a big deal of this episode,
That's right.
Mike. That's why we brought in Mr. Bob Patterson. Welcome to Deliver More.
Thank you. Thank you. Boy, it's my pleasure to be here. I can't believe it's 30 years since we started this business.
30
Wow.
years.
I had a full head of hair 30 years ago.
Yeah, I had hair.
Dark.
Dark, yeah.
No, but we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, Bob, and making the trip all the way up from Southern Delaware. Did DelDOT treat you well on the
Yes,
drive up? Did they
yeah.
have enough orange barrels on the road?
No tolls, of course.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, we thought it'd be fun today, in that spirit of celebration, to look back on the inception of this company, to see how we got to where we are now. And where we are now is we even have a whole new studio here.
That's right.
It's part of this Deliver More thing that started.
Debut.
Yeah. We're here in a new area, in a new studio to mark a very special occasion. And when I'm thinking about this, I want to go to you first, Bob. Take us back in time, if you will. It's the early 1990s. You had to see something out there in the ether that kind of told you maybe the time is right to start this project that became Intech Services. What was that like?
Well, what really started it, I guess, is the high management of DuPont coming in to our offices periodically and saying, Bob, you got to do something about all these small customers. They're driving us nuts. Customer service at DuPont was just not set up to deal with people that were buying small quantities of Teflon and then asking lots of questions.
Right.
Yeah.
The Teflon business of 100+ products and different sizes and different packages and all having different technologies. How do you apply this? What primer do you use? What surface prep do you use? A customer service person can't handle that. They just don't know because they're handling 4 or 5 different businesses. And so the question was how do you handle all this large quantities of customers that have lots of questions and don't buy much? And so we thought of, when I was still at DuPont, maybe a distributor. But there's so much technology to use that it was difficult to figure out how you could set up a distributor that knew the technology. So DuPont came out with this big retirement package in '92, I think it was. And I just decided, I was thinking about it. I had no intentions of retiring, and I thought about setting up a distributor for Teflon finishes and said, I could do this.
Yeah.
I knew the technology. I spent 7 or 8 years in marketing all over the world, and I think I could do this. And you had the cushion of a pension from DuPont back in those days.
Pension.
Doesn't
I
hurt.
don't even know what that is.
But it wasn't enough to live real cushy on, but it was enough. It was a safety cushion, And so I went to DuPont management and presented the idea to them that, we'd buy product from DuPont at a discount, and then they sell it at the same price that they sold at, and they jumped on it.
Wow.
They helped us out, they did everything they could to help us get started.
Yeah, they were great. I mean, I remember looking back at your transparencies that you created. I think we still have them. They're like the clear, old school transparency.
Show me on the microfiche machine.
But they really did help a lot. I remember there's a lot of consigned stock, and there's all kinds of assistance to help transition from DuPont to Intech.
Good example is, when I first went and presented this to our vice president, I said, well, our normal terms were 30 days. I'd like to have 60-day terms for a year to help us get started. They gave us 90 for 6 months or something. I don't remember the details. But they were very, very helpful in getting us. They wanted this to be successful.
Yep.
It certainly sounds like, what I find interesting hearing this as the audience per se is there's something that's still very much, it was the care for customers. Even it's these customers that buy small quantities, but you still have to care for them too, and they still deserve the stellar treatment. That was there at the inception of the Intech project, and it's still a core principle here today.
Absolutely.
So you can just see, where all this is going. That's really interesting to me. They like the idea. It seems like it's going to be a feasible thing, but making it work is entirely different, Bob. What were the first days? Did you have an office? Did you have, was that stuff set up, or what did you have to do?
Well, Bob Kazmarczyk came to see me after I'd been to DuPont, and he wanted to become a partner, and so he became a minority partner in business, and he was very helpful in helping us get started because he and I were running around looking for warehouses and so we finally found a warehouse that was a little bit suitable, and then we had to build packing tables. And
you guys built that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And, well, I think we took a desk out in front and made it into a packing table. And we needed furniture, so DuPont had a used furniture warehouse where we went and we bought wooden desks for $50 or $100.
Filing cabinets.
Yeah, file cabinets. We got a whole bunch of file cabinets, and then went down and got a bunch of auto paint with flattening agents and sprayed them black. We did everything we could for a little bit of money, and it worked out.
Well, the refrigerator was the biggest coup, I think.
Were you there when we did?
Yeah, I helped you unpack it. So I was in.
Tell
college.
us about this
monster.
monster.
I was finishing college.
Oh, that's right.
At Delaware. So
okay.
Which is literally, it's in Newark, so it's across town. And I got a call from my dad one day. I was shaking off, a night out, and he was like, "I need you down here to help me with this refrigerator we bought." I'm like, and I thought he meant like a home's refrigerator. I don't know. I wasn't.
Yeah.
So he and Kaz somehow scored this.
Kaz knew the manager.
Yeah, refrigerator from a ShopRite grocery store, the one on Route 4.
Okay.
And they were getting rid of it, and they were
moving.
Is that what it was? So
yeah, they were moving from one location to 2 miles away.
Yeah. So he scores the refrigerator because we need something to put acid primer in to keep it cold.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it's a disassembled paneled refrigerator. It's the one we still have. It's sitting in the warehouse right now.
It's huge.
Yeah, and it was bigger. It's half the size now as it used to be. We cut it down.
What do you roll up with an aircraft carrier to
It
take
was
that
huge.
back?
It was in the
Then
pickup
we borrowed
trucks.
a pickup truck.
Yeah, it's pickup trucks, and it was used in the bakery area, so there was donut crap everywhere on
Nice.
these. They were filthy.
Well, then part of it was used for fresh produce, so there's lettuce in there that
Yeah, it was disgusting.
wilted, and it was funny.
So I came over, and Kaz's son Rob was also in the area. So I remember the four of us disassembled and reassembled it, and it was, and we still use it. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
I did have to replace the compressor, so you kind of sold me a lemon, I think.
You had to have it. I mean, getting stuff cobbled from the parts of other Delaware businesses, if I'm getting this right, and just relying on the help of a very small team. I guess you couldn't have anybody say, "Well, that's not my job description to assemble a refrigerator." Everybody wearing multiple hats, I assume, doing what they have to.
I mean, we bought a used fork truck, battery operated fork truck for $900 from that place in downtown Wilmington that repaired and sold, and that's what we unloaded trucks with and loaded trucks with, and we used that. We cleaned the warehouse floor with a mop and wet towels. Remember running that thing around?
Trust me.
I mean, it was everything we did was we did ourselves and on a shoestring for the first couple of years until we got really rolling.
I mean, the routine was, I mean, wearing multiple hats this is the definition of that. And a lot of the Teflon coaters are in this same scenario where, you know, they do everything. Everything that has to get done, somebody's got to pick up that ball and run with it. So, you know, we'd come into work around 6, pack boxes, get the orders together. You're done by around 8. My dad and Kaz would eat a bagel and shoot the shit for a while. Then at 8:30, we were ready to start grinding. You know, we were on the phone. You know, my mom ran the entire office. So
That's what I heard.
Yeah, so she ran the entire office in terms of every incoming phone call, every incoming order. She did collections. She did payable. I mean, she did a ton of stuff that now we have 4 people.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mike, we have a team that does that, and if one of them is out one day, we're like, oh, God.
Yeah.
But we had your mom was just one-man band, huh?
Yep. So we all did multiple things. I'm kind of jumping ahead because I said we, but it started off with my dad and Kaz, and that's the environment I got brought into, which is like, hey, here's your job description. There isn't one. Get in here and go to work. Just work.
Well, and the philosophy right from the start was that if a customer called in, we'd get back to we either pick up and answer, but if we were busy, we'd get back to them before the end of the day. Okay. And we did. I mean, we did. I don't know whether you're still able to do that, but
of course.
No.
And that was very unusual in the industry then.
And that was before voicemail.
Yeah, before the automated world.
We had an answering machine. We had the old school, like with tape that we switch out. I mean, that was that was the automation that we had.
Wow. Well, now, I mean, you outsource for everything. You can outsource your payroll. You can outsource your front of office stuff. Yeah. You guys, multiple hats, everybody doing what they have to do, because I guess the challenge is just with the small businesses, you have to stay there long enough, right?
Prove the concept.
Try to imagine running this business with 3 people.
I can't, Bob. Yeah, I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you did it.
Well, it wasn't this big a business,
small,
then, but still, the idea of starting out with 3 people, and that was 3, I think.
Was 3 of you.
4th or?
No, Mary worked. When Mom was off, Mary worked. So she worked a couple days a month or whatever. And then I was employee number 5.
Okay.
Looking back at that first year, from having to secure your warehouse, to get your refrigerator, getting an office in order, that first year, you know, when you look back on it, what stands out? Was it that, I mean, you guys were successful? Were you more successful than you thought? Or
we knew after 6 months we were going to be successful, that it worked.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we had, when they first started, Mike wasn't there then, but when we first started, we had customers that would call up and say, why do we have to be with Intech? We want to be a DuPont customer.
Really?
Yeah. And they weren't happy when the first batch of small customers were given to us, and we were getting people calling us that were really unhappy with it.
Well, they felt like they got disrespected. They, instead of buying direct from DuPont, they got shifted to a distributor.
Okay.
And then, so that was why they were upset with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nick, after 6 months, we were having the same people calling us and saying, you guys are great. Wow. We get our questions answered. Our products shipped the same day we ordered it. I mean, it was entirely different than they were used to.
That's incredible. That is incredible. And giving you those kind of high marks, there's proof that your concept works. It's got to lead to DuPont giving you more and more trust. And I guess that's where this gentleman enters the story, Mike, as in order for this idea to grow, you had to get into your role. And that was with finding new markets, new customers, and was that really the first thing that you kind of came in as a professional and did?
Well, professional is a loose term. Thank you. But, you know, it's funny. When I came to Intech, to me, I didn't really intend on staying there. I graduated in December. I did an extra semester.
Sure.
Because I was jamming so much knowledge into this.
Oh, yeah.
Melon.
Got to get as much as you can.
But, you know, to me, I really, a lot of my friends were working at the time. It was MB&A, who was a big credit card company in Delaware. And that's where Karen was working, and all of my friends were working there. And that's really where I wanted to work, to be with my friends. And I had a business undergrad degree. And I was still in the interview process. And I was interviewing with, as Bob noted earlier, some insurance companies and some other places that I forgot about. But nothing was really, jumping at me. And he said, hey, come work at Intech for a little bit. You can help in the warehouse, learn some stuff here and there. And I really enjoyed it from day one. It was fascinating to me to see what Teflon was about, and to understand how people use it. And that's still the part that I love about it, because even, I've been doing this 27 years now, and even now there's new stuff that still comes in every week that I'm like, that's new. I didn't know about that. That's a new application. So it's that kind of like, it really kind of allows you to continue to learn and continue to kind of, learn something new. And that's the part that I really liked. And I also really liked that the job wasn't just a desk job. I enjoyed being able to go out and pack orders. And my dad and Kaz were awesome as far as having two people that I could learn different things from. Like, my dad was awesome with the technical part, the customer part, the Chemours or the DuPont background at the time, like all that kind of Teflon history and all that. He was my mentor for that. Kaz was super strong in just the business part. Like the accounting, the profit and loss, the books, the payroll, all that stuff. And he knew Teflon also, but his strength was the business. And so I felt like I had two different guys that really I could learn a lot from. So it was fun. And then I decided to stay. Bob shorted me on salary, but
that's what I heard. We'll get to
that. But I really enjoyed it, because then we started traveling, and my job was to learn the products, learn the customers, and to go out and try to find areas to grow. And so that led to half a dozen trips probably with my dad, and and it was fun, because I saw him in a light that I never saw him as growing up.
Yeah.
He wasn't the guy that was busting my ass for coming in late. He was someone that customers respected, and that people knew, and that they were happy to see, and he knew what he was talking about and all this stuff. And I was like, who is this guy? But it was a lot of fun, and it's something that I've always treasured and valued. And that to me is what I was like, I want to stay. I like doing this.
Well, like they say with some of us who have siblings, sometimes we get competitive and we want attention here or here. It had to be cool that you were the child that got to see him in this role. That's got to be a special thing that kind of stands out.
It is, and it's something that it's unique in terms of the experience I've had in the light I got to see my father in versus what my brothers saw him as. My brothers, when I talked to them about it, they were like, "Hey, good for you. I'm glad you're doing it, because I don't want to do it."
Well, and let me interject one thing.
Please.
It became real obvious that Mike was going to be very successful when you looked at his relationship with DuPont. I wasn't sure, because the rest of us that were interacting with DuPont were ex-DuPonters. And here comes a kid right out of college, and one of his jobs was to interact with DuPont, or it became part of his job as he stayed on, and he was eminently successful. They really respected Mike from day one, and they said, hey, he's really doing good. He knows the business, and he did. He learned it really quick.
Wow.
So, that was...
Good teachers. Absolutely. Absolutely good teachers. It worked out.
So I do remember the training stuff. There was a training program that involved a wheel of slides.
Here at Intech?
Sitting it was at the old office, and he'd be like, all right, my dad would be like, all right, at 1:30 we have training, and he would turn the lights off, and we'd roll through this slide deck of Teflon applications and all this other stuff, and that's how I learned that. And all those, we had tons of books and old fact sheet binders, but it was funny.
So you're telling me, when I have Wolfie on this show and he complains about your training and how intense it was, you had a wheel of stuff. So this is the real master.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, part of the customer service calls were training people. I mean, people would call in and they'd say, well, I have this part and I want to put something on it that it won't stick. Things won't stick to it. And so then you have to train them as how do you make Teflon stick to a piece of steel? And, you go through little. And Mike picked up on that real quick.
Yeah, that's not easy. It's not easy, as I'm learning all the time in here.
Yeah.
But it's again, I love the fact, it's one of the things I've always loved about Intech is you get to talk to somebody. When you have a question, you get to have a conversation with an actual human being, and you don't keep somebody on the line for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. We've all been there, whether it's the cable company or your support for your computer. This is so. Can I get behind the curtain for a minute? I hear tell about you guys got along pretty damn good.
Yeah,
right.
for sure.
With one exception.
Yeah.
There's apparently somewhere
Only one?
there's apparently a door that took the brunt of somebody's frustration somewhere on the property. Mike, what was this big dust up?
It was, and I think this is a natural progression. I was a couple years in, and I was, feeling I had a knowledge base, type thing. I was feeling, pretty bold about what I knew and didn't know. And I remember it was a situation where I went to my dad and I had a question, and he gave me an answer I didn't like, and it led to like a pretty good blow up in the office, like a shouting thing. And there was a door that led from the office area into the warehouse, and I like jacked that door.
It was a metal door.
Yeah, it was a shot, and the hinges broke, and it was a problem because it never worked right after that either. And it was handled well. Bob gave me some space. I remember 20 minutes later, you came out and were like, "Hey, what the hell's going on?" And we talked it through, and that was that. I mean, but I've seen that in other people around here. It's like when you get to a level where you think you know enough, and then you realize you don't know shit. It doesn't go over so well, and that's really what it comes down to. It was one of those things that Bob was. I've never told him this before, by the way, but I think he was probably right in that situation.
Oh, an exclusive here on Deliver More. An exclusive. Dad was right. That's got to feel good, Bob.
I knew that all along.
There was never any doubt. There was never any doubt. But I mean, you can say people wore multiple hats. So the whole your family was so tightly ingrained in this project as it went forward. Was working with family always pretty easy for you, Bob? Or
You mean at Intech?
Yeah.
Extremely. Actually, I hadn't really thought about that, but Gene and I never, if we had any kind of problems at Intech, we never took it home.
Yeah.
But we didn't have any. I don't remember having any problems. She was doing a fantastic job.
Oh.
I was busy. He was busy. We were busy all the time in the first place.
Right.
We had a great relationship.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for our listeners because we have so many people, especially in your world of coders, that are second generation, third generation businesses. Yeah. And I think the obvious question here is, Mike, I know you have boys that are right on the precipice of entering the business world. Is this something you think about? Do people ask you, do you want them to follow, in your footsteps, or do you want them to do their own thing? Do you have any thoughts there?
I do get asked this a lot. My oldest son, Kate, is going to be a senior this year at South Carolina. I have a junior at South Carolina also. Go Gamecocks. But I get that question a lot. I think it's a natural question when you're somebody's in business for themselves. Like, hey, your kid's going to get involved or what? And it's interesting. I've never talked to any of my kids about this.
Really?
It's in my mind, I don't want there to be any pressure on anybody, especially on them. I want them to do what they want to do, what's going to make them happy. And I have no idea whether they would want to do it because we've never had the conversation. I'd be open to the conversation, but I think I would do things a little different in terms of I came here directly from college. That's the only regret I have in my career. That I think I would have liked to have experienced the outside world for a couple years because just everyone else basically has. And I think it's something that I might have learned things differently about how I would have run the company, subsequently, or I don't know. I just think that that's like a part of my career development or my personal development that I didn't have because I went right from college to a 4-person company. Mm-hmm. but at the same time, we worked for a Fortune 500 company, so I was doing a lot with them, and so I learned how to play those big company games and how to, how the politics of big companies work, because we were so integrated with DuPont. Mm-hmm. So, that was good, but at the same time, I always did wonder, like, what would it be like if I did do a couple years somewhere else? Would that change me? Would that alter my how I run things? But I don't have any complaints or regrets.
Maybe you'd still be selling insurance.
Comes up again.
I'd be kicking ass. You'd
be the best damn insurance salesman. Yeah,
you would be overinsured if I was.
That reminds me. You talked about family companies, and about a year and a half ago, I got a call. I was out in my workshop doing something, and Bruce Nesbitt called me, one of our old customers. We were pretty good friends because of some travel we did when I was still at DuPont, and he said, "Hey, this is Bruce." "Oh, Bruce Nesbitt, yeah. I just wanted to tell you before I told your kid, I'm selling my business." I said, "Oh, that's great." He said, "Yeah, I wanted to tell you." He said, "I'm going to call your kid right after I hang up." And and that was, he always called Mike my kid. Mike would go see him, and he'd call me a couple months later. "Your kid was in." Wow. And that's the way he thought of Mike, but he loved Mike. He always said what a great job he was doing, how well he knew the business, and that's one of the premier customers that we used to have. I don't know how it is now, but
yeah, it's a pretty good compliment for your kid.
Yeah, it was. Your kid.
It is. I know that rounding out this story is going to be tough, and I know I'm conscious of how much time we spent here together, but I know that, talking about being his kid, I know that when Bob left the company, left you kind of short-handed at the time. And it seems like Bob left the business, but have all the contacts. Kind of like the business doesn't leave a guy like you. You can't really shut that off, I suppose, after years and years in this business. What was the transition like when Bob steps away?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, because we knew Bob announced he was going to leave. And so Kaz and I knew, and we were planning on how we would, backfill, so to speak. But we knew we were going to be a little shorthanded, especially on the technical service and, packing boxes and whatnot. And it's funny because when Bob was like, "I'm leaving January 1st, I'm done, et cetera." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever. He's still going to be back nosing around." And and he wasn't. He, like, when he and my mom left, they left.
Good to your word. Wow.
I remember that summer. Yeah, I remember that summer. His thing was like, "Hey, when Kaz goes on vacation, I'll come up and I'll stay with you and I'll help you out." So, and I was like, "Oh, great," because it was rough working by yourself, like, to do everything. So I remember you came back that summer, and I remember you were surprised how much you forgot in 6 months or 7 months.
I don't remember coming back.
Yeah. So that's a good, it was one of those things. And you, after that, you never offered to come back again. But no, he did. He said, "I'm gone." And honestly, it's, looking back on it, Nick, it was good for me especially, probably, because it's trial by fire. There's no go cry on his shoulder. There's none of this. We had to make it work too. So it was almost like, and I was good friends with Kaz by the time my dad left. But Kaz and I had to develop our relationship and build that too, because now, he was, it was a different dynamic, and he was great, and it worked. Obviously, we continued to thrive, and the business continued to grow.
But on the other hand, when I left, you put your own spin on the company and started doing some really good things as to open to new markets and new products.
Right. Yeah, that was like when Tony came. So that was around 2000.
Yeah, but that was
started
your doing,
earlier. Yeah, we started nosing around with that stuff, and that's what really that opened up a lot of other doors too.
Well, I mean, that's back 20 years. I mean, how do we get to where we are today, Mike? What's going on in the meantime since Bob's left?
I mean, I think what it comes down to, and the short answer to that is, my focus has been over time to continue to put Intech in a position where we are more than just a distributor of Teflon. So we wanted to continue to do everything that Bob and Kaz set up from day one, which is having that personal touch and the 2-ring pickup and all those things that people, next day shipping, all that stuff. That still happens today.
Yeah.
But we wanted to take it to different levels. So we're still the customers know we're the only supplier with a website where you can buy stuff online, where you can buy all the other products, where we offer the training. We have shows like this to help continue to stay connected with our customers and to reach engineers and specifiers, and to have people that are hired that a big portion of their job is to go find new applications for Teflon, which help us grow and help our customers grow. So to me, it was always to be more than just someone calls to buy a gallon of Teflon. Like that's the mechanical part of what we do.
Sure.
The real value of what we do is all that other stuff that we want to bring to the table.
Wow. So a lot of innovation and a lot of expansion since the time that you departed, Bob. But you gotta. It sounds like when you talk about the work Mike's done, you have to be incredibly proud.
Yep.
Put the
Choked
pieces
up. You choked up.
But you put the pieces in place the right way from day one, still doing those same things, but just expanding and innovating and getting into new markets and serving new people. It's a hell of a story. And I guess the story's not over. What's next, Mike?
I think it's more of the same, Nick, in all honesty. The notion of continuing to find new ways to innovate and to reach people and to reach end users and to continue to find new homes where Teflon has value and can solve problems, it's more of the same of that. And I think what I could envision more of is just more use of technology and efficiency through whether it's social media and e-marketing and geofencing and all these other tools that are out there from a technology standpoint. It's utilizing that stuff to reach people where they want to be reached, and if that makes sense. So like the new wave of engineers and specifiers, where are they talking? Because it's not on email, right? So what groups are they in? How are they on Twitter? It's all that kind of stuff. And it's really kind of digging into that stuff to use technology to allow us to reach people in that fashion, and to use technology for operational efficiency internally in terms of just all the computer systems we have, that web orders come in that automatically get created, that go to the warehouse, that go out, we were doing all that by hand. Now basically the computer does it all. So it's continuing to stay on top of that too.
Yeah. I mean, as the world continues to evolve, Intech has to evolve too.
Yep.
And I mean, what we're doing right now is part of that evolution as well.
And
this was a conscious decision you made of, we can do more to stay in touch with people and have conversations that relate to what they're going through in this business. So I know that doing these episodes of Deliver More and coming up with them is a pleasure for the team. But you really have to take a bow. This is 30 years of an exceptional business that the two of you need to celebrate. You've put in place something special, and we're grateful to you.
Well, what I'm probably most proud of is that Mike and his team, you and everybody else here, Nick, still cares about the customer. I mean, it's pretty obvious. And I think that's the secret. You listen to the customer and you care about them. You get back to them when they call. It's going to continue to make you a very successful company.
It's a rare thing in this world.
Yeah, it is.
To get people on the phone is hard. To get people on the phone that understand and can answer your questions in a timely manner is hard.
All our people are talking to other customers. We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Never do.
Yep.
Yeah. I had a saying I used to throw around in my past life teaching, is that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I think that is absolutely indicative of what you guys do at Intech. Mike, Bob, this has been a pleasure. Was it fun for you guys?
Absolutely.
It was, yeah.
Taking us down memory lane. This
Great
was
job,
fun.
Nick. Thanks for trying to
thanks a lot.
corral the two of us. I know that's not easy.
You guys have, look, I think we just skimmed the surface of the stuff that we could talk to. My guests today, my esteemed guests, have been Bob and Mike Patterson. For everyone here at Intech Services, thank you for joining us on today's very, very special edition of Deliver More. Thank you. Congratulations on 30 years.
Thank you, Nick.
See you next time.
All right.